Welcome back to the Iconoclast Music Podcast. What it was formerly known as, it's now Greg and Bill's Guitar Uproar, which I think has a better ring to it. I'm joined by my co-host, Bill Lanaro. Bill, how you doing today?
Doing great, man. Sunny day in San Francisco.
Yeah, same here. Southern California, we're at about 75 degrees. It seems like the heavy heat has sort of worn off for a minute, and you know, it's nice and cool. Like I take my dogs for a walk in the morning, and you can feel that ocean breeze hitting us.
Nice.
You're right on the water, dude. So how's that? I mean, it's probably cold there, actually.
Actually, sometimes, yeah, but I mean, you know, I'm right here. I can look out the window here and see the bay and the cargo ships go by, and you know, the container ships and the Bay Bridge right there. And yeah, you know, we're inland from the ocean, but we're right here at the bay, which is nice.
Yeah. City by the Bay, man.
City by the Bay, journey all the way.
All right, so we brought our guitars today. You know, I feel like maybe we should have done this early on. I mean, we're both guitar players. Why are we just talking and not playing? So so I'll tell you. Last night I decided that I was going to try to figure out how to get the best tone, my tone, and try to match up some tones that I've always loved. So I went and I searched, and I've done this a million times, so I can kind of get pretty close with a dissimilar amp and dissimilar guitar. But I always loved the Images and Words John Petrucci tone. So I was able to find isolated rhythm guitars for, I think the song was Metropolis off Images and Words. And so anyway, here's me going through my Charvel USA. It's got the Fishman. It's a special set they sent for me. It's their red. It's their moderns. And I had the guitar completely tricked out. It's got it has the Steve Vai finish on it. Now, when I say the Steve Vai finish, I mean it is painted by Pat Wilkins, who painted the original Steve Vai Crossroads guitars for the movie. And when I asked him, I said, "Can you do this exactly the same?" He said, "I know the exact formula to paint it, and I will paint you the exact color." And I love it. And then since then, obviously, it's not because of me. They don't know who I am, but Jackson put out a limited run of the Jack Butler Crossroads guitars. So anyway, I've got mine that came out before Jackson. But I'm going through my Victory Kraken. I've got some pedals on the floor, but Bill's going to hear it in the room. He's going to hear my Friedman Pink Taco PT20. And recording is my Kraken, my Victory Amps Kraken. That fits at the end, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's got a nice little Petrucci sound to it, you know.
What do you got today, Bill?
My Gretsch, actually. Yeah, it's you know, it's funny. I have all my guitars in my studio, but I only have my Gretsch here at home.
Yeah, man.
You know, I've just.
What is it? So it's an orange Gretsch.
Yeah,
what's the model on that?
I could not. I think it's like the Country Gentleman.
Country Gentleman.
Yeah, you know, I saw it at the guitar store, and I've always wanted a Gretsch, and I love the color on it, and it's just I was just like, all right, you know, I'll take it. And
I remember when you got that.
Yeah, you know, it's you know, we're going to use it on the tour with you, just to kind of, you know, really kind of that image of, you know, playing instrumental rock, but with hollow body guitars. You know,
yeah.
I ended up not doing it because I didn't want to take this on the road with me. So,
oh, it's too nice, man.
Yeah, but you know,
what's it sound like? Let's hear it, man. Crank it up.
I mean, right now I've got the, you know, I've got a nice clean tone going on it right now.
Yeah.
Perfect for country stuff.
That's fantastic. I love guitars like that.
Yeah.
I always loved what's his name? Brian Setzer.
Oh,
always loved him.
Dude, I saw him live. It was amazing. I've seen him twice. The first time was he was drunk off his ass in the Silver Legacy Hotel lobby. I was standing at the elevator, and there's like he was playing in town. and there were some other people there dressed in rockabilly 50s outfits, right? So like, oh, they must be here for the concert. And then all of a sudden, Brian Setzer comes stumbling. He was stumbling up with 2 beers, one in either hand, just kind of wobbling. And he looks at us and he's like, "Hey, dudes," and then gets in the elevator and up he goes. You know, it was we were getting out of the elevator, he was getting in. It was quite funny. You know,
what year was that? Jump, Jive, and Wail or whatever?
Man, that probably would have been 2009, 10.
Oh, this was like, so what, like maybe one of the Christmas shows?
Yes, I think it was a Christmas show, actually. Because I do remember the Silver Legacy Casino having a lot of Christmas trees up and everything. So, yeah, it would have been a Christmas show.
That's so rad.
Try to get tickets. They were completely sold out.
Marty Friedman, I believe, took lessons from him. I want to say that I remember reading that in one of the Guitar Player magazines. Yeah, and I think if I remember the story correctly, Dave Mustaine was like, "Why in the hell would you ever want to take lessons from Brian Setzer?" Now, Marty Friedman being obviously like a student of the instrument in all styles, it makes sense.
Well,
Dave Mustaine,
Dave
not so
Mustaine
much.
he doesn't always have the best judgment, does he?
Well, all you have to do is listen to his trade-off solos on, what is it, Countdown to Extinction or whatever.
Hangar 18.
And like,
Hangar 18.
Why did he do that?
I'll tell you why.
It's all ego-driven,
exactly.
obviously.
I was just going to say, that is
come
why.
on, buddy.
Ego-driven, man. I mean, I'm a fan of Megadeth. Well, let's put it this way. I was a fan of Megadeth. I stopped listening to Megadeth when Marty left.
I did too.
Yeah.
Same thing. Well, I love Kiko Laredo, however you say his name. I think I actually did a pretty good job.
I think you did, yeah.
I love Chris Broderick. I mean, he's fantastic.
Great players.
Yeah, they're all great players. I'm more a fan of them than I am.
That's right.
And to me, it was always like, I don't know if it was the same for you, but look, we got the Rat cassettes, and with our dual deck cassette player, we would only make a compilation cassette of all the solos because the rest of it, wasn't really. I mean, I wasn't really into it. Slip of the lip or whatever. Like they got off on some weird tangents with their lyrics, or maybe they phoned it in. It was a pop, whatever band, glam band.
Yeah.
But I loved Warren DeMartini's solos so much that I would just chop out the solos and put this compilation tape together. And I remember thinking the same for when Marty joined Megadeth, where I was like, I just kind of go forward to the solo, listen to it again, go to the next song, go to the solo. It's like,
well, I mean,
those songs didn't really do a lot for me.
Yeah, they stopped doing anything for me after the Euthanasia. That was the last album for me. But I mean, he really should just change the name to Mega Dave, because it's really what it is. I mean, he got rid of Ellefson. Marty left. I mean, it's all about him. Yeah. Right.
That's my Dave Mustaine.
Well, there you go.
Impersonation.
Your head's a little too small,
Earth
though.
starts to rumble.
Yeah, your head's too small.
World powers fall. You kind of give it up for them because Pete Sells was killer. He always got great lead guitar players. Chris Poland, tremendous. Oh. Those first couple records were really spirited and fantastic. And even like In My Time of Dying, whatever that song
was called. In My Darkest Hour.
In My Hour.
In My Darkest Hour.
Yeah, My Darkest Hour, right. I was thinking Zeppelin.
Yeah. That was Jeff Young, right?
That's a great album too with Jeff Young. It's great record.
You introduced me to Jeff. You introduced me to Jeff when we were in Vegas.
What I will say is, when you look at, like, there was a greatest hits Megadeth, there probably is. But
I'm sure.
If you had a greatest hits Megadeth, I could jam that. I'd crank it up, and really enjoy it and feel like I want to drive my car fast to listening to it. But, when Dave Mustaine's in therapy with Lars and saying, "Do you know what that did to me when you guys got a number one hit? And I'm sitting back here in number 2. It's just like, dude, shut up, man. Well, you have a career. Just knock it off, bro.
That's right. Exactly.
Find another thing to complain about.
He's always playing the victim, Yeah,
that's right.
It's and I'm sure that's why a lot of people leave that band. Ego and just him always constantly whining about something.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll never reach the level of Metallica. It will never happen.
It's too late now.
Well, it's too late, and
now it's legacy. Now it's legacy, bro.
That's right.
Now it's like painting the picture of what you did.
Well, but that's the thing, right? Metallica is still out there selling out baseball stadiums.
Yeah.
You know, 40 years. They're playing right down the street here in December for 2 shows at the Chase Center, literally a mile from here. And I'm going to try and get tickets to go.
Okay, Bill, we know you live in San Francisco. My gosh, why don't you drop some more San Francisco references?
Well, I'm just saying, I want to go, you know? I want to go.
Yeah,
you know?
I'd like to go to that too. That would be really fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's 40 years. Can you believe that?
I was right there in the beginning. I mean, not all the way in the beginning, but, you know, when they used to talk about tape trading,
Yep.
I had one. I'll reference my cousin, Neil, again. You know, he was the one that, I'm sure he introduced me to, I'm almost certain that he gave me one of those tape trader tapes. And on it was like Creeping Death, Am I Evil, and like some of the early, like the first record, you know, the Kill 'Em All record, was on this cassette. And it was like definitely degraded. So it was like a copy of a 10 times over copy. But then I remember Master of Puppets came out, and then I got the cassette, and it was just like game over, man. Metallica was like my jam. That's like age 14, 15. So
yeah. I mean,
Creeping Death too. I had Creeping Death.
Yeah, I was younger. I mean, I had the demos. I had the original demos. I still have them. No Life Till Leather. You know. Yeah, man. I mean, I've been a fan of Metallica since day one, since I was a little kid. You know, and
well, you would have been right in the scene too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was living in Mountain View at the time, and you know, my recollection is, you know, I was walking with my friend Jimmy. We were in front of this arcade called the Outer Limits. We used to go there all the time after school, right? And there was this guy sitting outside, big tall dude, actually looked like Cliff Burton from my memory. And he was a tall dude, but we called him Hobbit. That was his nickname, Hobbit. But he was super tall. And he was out there listening to some music. We didn't know what it was, and we're like, hey, you know, what is that? And we'd never heard anything like that. It was super fast, aggressive, and you know.
Wait, you're talking about the actual band that was playing somewhere?
It's this band. No. He was playing a cassette of it. And,
okay, got it.
Yeah, and we're like, you know, what is it? And he goes, oh, it's this new band out of San Francisco, Metallica, and you know, just think of those words, new band Metallica.
Oh, I know, bro.
You know, I mean, and I remember having. It's funny because I remember having the Megadeth "Killing Is My Business" cassette, and Jimmy had Metallica's "Kill 'Em All," and we actually traded. I said, I'll trade you my, you know, Kill 'Em All. I'm sorry, it was the opposite way. I had Kill 'Em All. He had Killing Is My Business, and I said, I'll trade you. And then, you know, we each had it for a while and listened to it. But you know, you get the some people are like, well, you know, I don't like Metallica. I only like Megadeth, you know, because they're snobs, right? You know, I only like Megadeth because their songs are more complicated. It's the stupidest argument in the world, you know. To only like music because it's complicated.
Yeah, I know. Let me ask you a question. On your Gretsch Country Gentleman, what Metallica can you play? You got any Metallica for us?
Oh, you know, here the funny thing is so my friend. This is a cool little story, actually. I went up to go visit my mom in Rio Neto, which is just northwest of Santa Rosa. And she was living in this house, and me and my friend Micah Bundes just went there. We were going to go there for the weekend and go hang out. I was living in San Jose at the time. And so we're up there. My mom had this den area with this like 12-foot long bar. It was massive. And we're in the den area. We hear somebody playing Metallica, Master of Puppets, across the valley, the Gauley area. My friend goes, dude, grab your amp and join in. So I did. And then we're standing there, and all of a sudden we turn around, and this dude is standing in my den with an amp in one hand and a guitar in another. And we ended up jamming that day for 14 hours straight on all kinds of stuff. But
you got any Master of Puppets under your fingers?
Yeah, but what we jammed on, though, was we were playing...
Oh, yeah.
Right? You know, we were playing that, you know... Yeah, the whole, you know. Yep. For me,
kind of fucked it up there. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
Wow, fucking up Kirk Hammett. I guess I'm playing it right.
Oh shit.
But bum.
Right, but bum.
What a dick. I'm such a dick today, dude.
Hey, you got a reason. So,
you know what? Look, Kirk Hammett was my jam.
Yeah.
Master of Puppets all the way through, and Justice for All.
Yeah. You know, I loved playing all that stuff, you know.
Yeah.
As a kid and just in general. But Metallica for me has always been a little bit of pride in it, right? They were Bay Area. I mean, they started in Southern California. You know, that's where they got their start. And Cliff Burton said, hey, if you want me in your band, you're going to move to San Francisco. And they did. And completely changed the music scene.
All right, what song is this?
One of the best ones they ever did. Yep. The bell tolls. Yep.
Put a little Vi there at the end.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it's one of the best songs they ever did. I mean, that album, Ride the Lightning.
Yeah, that was great.
But you see the evolution, right? And then the de-evolution of Metallica, right?
Yeah.
When they started off, you know, they
in the 90s, huh?
Well, yeah, but I mean, when they started off right in the early 80s, they had this very stripped down thrash metal punk vibe to them, right? Then Cliff Burton comes in the picture. And all of a sudden...
That's because Dave Mustaine was such a great songwriter on that first record. That's why,
right?
man.
That's right.
I got to stick up for Dave Mustaine after I just tore
bashed
him down.
No, but I mean, Cliff studied music, right? He studied
Cliff,
classical music,
Cliff
composers.
Burton,
he knew all about that stuff. So he came in and really arranged the songs. And you see that evolution of Ride the Lightning into Master of Puppets, which Master of Puppets is the pinnacle, right? Then in the middle of making Justice for All, he dies tragically in the bus accident. Now they've got all
It wasn't it was maybe some of the writing was done.
Yeah.
But it was on the tour of Master of Puppets, and then Jason Newsted took over
exactly
the tour.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he had all these. He wasn't there to arrange everything like he was on the previous stuff. If you listen to, if you listen to that album, it's as if they took a bunch of all the riffs, threw them in a hat, and then just picked them out and said, "Okay, we'll throw this one here, we'll throw this one there." Yeah, he wasn't there to do it. And then they come out with the Black Album, which is Bob Rock coming in and saying, we're going to strip everything down and we're going to make it a rock and roll album, which didn't hurt their bank accounts at all.
Let me see if I can pull this off.
Ooh,
almost. That was close.
Almost.
Yeah. I mean, and Justice for All, I tell you, when I look back at like records, all those records, I can paint, myself at a certain age, like when you talk about me at 14, it was all the demos. It was Am I Evil, Creeping Death. And then when I'm at 15, 16, Master of Puppets. And then when I'm, like 17, I'm like a junior in high school. I had my first like real serious girlfriend. And, I was listening to And Justice like nonstop. The song One, I remember the video came out and it was just like, I remember all my buddies, like, we kind of got good at rhythm guitar playing from listening and trying to learn the And Justice for All record.
Yeah. I mean, how can you not? It's there. People can bash Metallica all they want. They're jealous is what it is. Anybody that truly bashes them, for what they've accomplished, as four guys, Cliff Burton would still be in that band if he hadn't passed away, and it would still be the four original guys 40 years later. How many bands can say that they are still on the top of the heap 40 years after they started? I can think of a few.
Led Zeppelin can't even say that. The last episode we were talking about that, Jimi Hendrix, Eddie Van Halen, who were the innovators, who were the originators. Then when you look at like Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, then you have Metallica. Metallica was, they really are they're one of those bands that has a massive audience and has put out really great catalog of music. They really just have. Well, and everybody bags on Kirk Hammett, but he's right for that band.
He's perfect
right
for
that
it.
band.
Imagine anybody else in that band. Anybody.
Yeah, you couldn't.
You can't.
You couldn't have any of the Megadeth guitar players in there because,
Nope.
Metallica, I always feel like it's square. The
Yes.
vocals are very, and it's not a negative thing. It just is what it is. It's not rounded in any way. It's not, I don't want to say it's not smooth, but it's just not. It's a right hook.
Yes.
Across the face. That's what it is. And that's what it's meant to be. It's very, Lars Ulrich will always play the way he plays.
Yep.
And when you talk about the Beatles, they went from square, very basic type square music to more evolved around it and, more depth and more, just more,
Well,
very more well-rounded is what I'm saying. But when you look at Metallica, they had some of that rounded, sort of nice, lush music on, the Black Album, but it was still right hook. I mean, when you listen to that stuff, well, it's just so heavy.
Nothing
man.
Else Matters was about the biggest right hook you can imagine, right? Because nobody expected Hetfield to sing like that.
Yeah. I guess more of what I'm saying, Bill, is like, when you talk about an orchestrated piece, Nothing Else Matters was definitely that. Yeah. So I would say that's more of like they're more of a more depth to the music. Sure. But Sad But True.
Oh yeah.
It's just, man, that's how can you not go into the boxing ring and want to,
so
I'm tear your opponent apart. Listen to that.
I'm going to pull a dick moment right here and say that all the people out there that say, well, Metallica isn't who they used to be, right? Metallica sold out. Metallica, you're all a bunch of posers. Every last one of you, every single one of you that was a fan of Metallica when they started, and now you're angry at Metallica because they found success. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anybody?
Do you think that's a present day argument? I don't mean to cut you off, but you think that's a present day argument? Or you think that's an argument that would have happened 20 years ago before?
Oh, it still happens. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still I still hear people say that, oh yeah, Metallica was good and Kill 'Em All, and they were good and Ride the Lightning. But after Master of Puppets, man, they suck. They're just sellouts now. And the best comment I ever heard, the best comeback for that ever was Jason Newsted. And it was in the 1.5 in a Life of Metallica documentary. And he goes, people say that we sold out. He goes, you're right. He goes, we sell out every arena we play. And that's the best damn argument you can say, because you're a fan of theirs when they're struggling, but now that their dreams have come true, you want to cut them down and say they suck.
Well, look, yeah, I get what you're saying. I'm gonna just go on a different level here for just a split second. So James Hetfield, I guess the last I looked was probably, I don't know, 5 or so years ago. He's worth over $70 million. Okay, so he can do whatever he wants, right? So when you look at a fan, and Metallica would never say this, but each member in Metallica, including Robert Trujillo, they're very wealthy and they're very well-to-do, and they really, I hate to say it, but they don't really need to get in the mix with that argument. They don't need to give a fuck. They have fuck you money. Okay. That's right. So to that point, it's just the Monday morning what do they call
quarterbacks? Armchair quarterbacks.
Armchair quarterbacks on Monday morning, just arguing amongst themselves in their little cliques.
That's right.
And really, in the grand scheme of things, what are we looking to do in our lives anyway? Everybody just wants to be happy and comfortable and do what you just want to do what you want. And so I think in that, Metallica did have some missteps with some of their albums, Load and Reload. I can't go there. I think the Memory Remains is a cool tune and whatever. But when you talk about like the most recent stuff, Death Magnetic, the production was a little weird because they compressed it too hard in the master, but the tunes were heavy as hell. And then you go before then, what was the record that had the weird snare?
Oh, Saint Anger.
Saint Anger. So that's the one where some kind of monster was being made.
That's the one,
they were falling apart. Boy, I didn't think we were going to have a Metallica episode, but
that's
here
all right,
we are.
Man. No problem with
that. To me, when I hear that, I'll tell you a true story. I remember the record coming out and going, well, this is a mistake. There's no way. This was like, I think they must be trying to get some marketing on a joke, really, because there's no way this is the release. This can't be right. This can't be right. There's no guitar solos. The songs, I was not a fan. I hated the snare sound. I couldn't do it, man. I thought that was I literally was convinced that when they released Saint Anger, it was a joke.
Yeah.
Like they're like, oh, haha, here's the real mix. Here's the real record. Because to me, I don't know. What's your opinion on that?
Well, so I mean, I hear what you're saying on that, and I do like some of the songs on there. Amber, Saint Anger. I mean, I do like them, but the way I look at it as they've got some major balls to do whatever they want to do. They've earned that right? If they want to put out a full-blown country album, I'll support it, because to me, isn't that what being an artist is about?
I'll support you.
Right.
I'll support you supporting them because of the positivity involved.
Right. But I mean, isn't that what every artist, that is our goal.
You're right, man.
Right?
You're right.
Let's release the music, the art that we want to do. If For instance, if an artist, and I mean like a painter, right, comes out and today he puts out a surrealist painting, right? And it's the greatest thing in the world. And then maybe tomorrow he puts out a minimalistic painting, right? He's doing what he wants to do, right? And everybody would accept that, right? Everybody would be like, oh, this is great, right? But when a musician does it, people get up in arms about it. But here's the thing: if Steven Spielberg puts out a movie that's one genre and then puts out another movie, nobody says to, oh, Steven Spielberg, he sold out. Only in music do we do that.
I'll say this for that statement, and that is, whenever there was no revenue for music sales, that's when I stopped giving a fuck about what people thought about my music and said, I'm doing it from my heart.
Right.
And when I look back, I want to be happy and proud of the music I released. And that's like my new record's the same thing. And I called it reflexive because it's reflexive has several different definitions, but one of them is your reflex to what's happening. So since I'm doing all the music myself, I'm doing all the instruments myself. It's me responding to what's happening with the drums, a groove I might have played, or vice versa. The guitar, fitting the drums, or a bass groove, and now I have to fit around that. So I'm trying to fit in that meld. I'm responding, reacting to what's happening. But it's the same thing. And I'd like to bring Joe Satriani in on this because we mentioned Strange Beautiful Music, the book he wrote, and I read it, when it came out. But I kind of scanned through it. Now I'm reading it again. I'm on, now he's, so if you don't know about this book, he basically goes through all of his records, his history, and he has other people that were relevant at the time. And then he goes through all the different gear he used, guitar, it's very specific about guitar and production. But he also goes into what he was thinking at the time and why he did experimental music and why he was so, felt like, the only thing I can do is what's honest to me. And, that you sometimes forget that as an artist throughout the years because you're going, how many likes am I going to get on Facebook? Is this fast enough? Is the solo going to be impressive enough? And then you realize that, well, look, Joe Satriani is not even arguably, he is at the top of the instrumental guitar game.
Yep.
He's got millions of fans around the world and he's got 4 or 5 decades, whatever, of his music. The man's 64 years old, 65 years old, whatever. And he still creates beautiful, lush sounding music that is interesting and can take any listener on a journey. And he's been noted as saying, you got to play what you want. You got to satisfy yourself. Obviously you do take into consideration the fans' point of view, but he studied with Lenny Tristano, who was like at the forefront of jazz, like freeform jazz. And, some of his stories were that Lenny would say to him, man, you got to play the notes that feel right to you. And I'm paraphrasing. I don't know if that's specifically what he said, but that was the vibe of what he was saying. Just saw an interview with Joe again, where he was talking to Rick Beato in an interview. And he said those exact words of like, look, man, just like Lenny Tristano taught me, you've got to play what's in your heart. You've got to play what is right to you. And then to further that, Frank Zappa always had a thing. And I always interpreted so Frank Zappa had a quote of saying, when you're when you're performing or when you're, composing, there's only really one right thing, and there's really one right note that will fit. There's only really the one that makes the hairs on your arm stand up. And there's only really one right note, one way to play it. And I feel like all those different, influences, all these things that these famous composers have said over the years, it really is true because once the moment's here and gone, if you weren't satisfied in the moment or you didn't play what felt right to you in the moment, then you weren't even being honest with the art. And that furthers your point, just to kind of circle back to your point. An artist is going to put out what compels him to be an artist. I mean, that's, I I found other ways to make money in music, and it was never music. It was never the music I was putting out that was making the money. Um, but you play live and you do clinics and you do product demonstrations and you do trade shows, and there's a million ways you give lessons. I taught for 20 years. There's a million ways to make music, but if you sacrifice the art for it just because you want to make money, want to play in a top 40 cover band, that's one way to go about it. But to me, it was never about that. It's always about creating the art that felt as honest as I could possibly put out.
Exactly. I mean, when I put out my first album, Slather, right, 2004, I had never put out an album before. So I knew that I wanted to put out an album that I wanted to hear. I didn't care about anybody else, right? So on that album, I put a Latin song, a Latin acoustic song. I put more like Cuban style. I put a blues song, a Baroque style classical, Baroque song, rock songs, and a couple of acoustic songs. I wasn't trying to, I'm gonna play faster than this guy. I didn't care about that, and I still don't care about that. In the next album, I put a Hawaiian song on there. And then I put like a strum stick thing, like there's like a swamp style I found in the studio. There was a strum stick. So I did that. And then, and we put on Amazing Grace on there. And again, it was about what I wanted to hear. And then the next album, there were some punk songs I put on there I called punk instrumentals, and then the last album was like a progressive rock metal album, theme album.
Yeah.
So for me, every album that I do, I want to do it because that's what I want to do. I'm not doing it because I think somebody else wants to hear it. I think I told you before, I'm working on a jazz song right now. Like I haven't done jazz. Like I did a smooth jazz one, but I haven't done a real jazz song. And I was telling you, there's nobody out there waiting with bated breath for me to put out a jazz song. It just isn't happening. But me, for my own growth as a musician,
that's right.
That's why I'm doing it. If people like it, great. If they don't, I don't care.
Not to put you on the spot, but can you play any of your original music from that first record?
Yeah.
Are you able to?
I mean,
can you pull? Is it one guitar? Is you could pull it off with one guitar?
I mean, yeah. There's the classical one, right? The I don't know how much of it you want me to play.
Yeah, play some, man. I would love to hear it. beautiful.
So that was called 1234.
That's really nice, man.
Thank you. So yeah, I mean, but doing stuff like that to me is kind of therapeutic. And I messed up the freaking second to the last note. Can you believe it? So
all good.
Yeah,
all good.
So
it's funny. On my first record, I had it was 2004 that I actually recorded it, but I had riffs from, like we're talking about the first record that you ever make, and that music could go back to when you're a little kid, and I actually did have some stuff on there that was from when I was from a little kid, all the way up through me as a teen and into my 20s. Because when my first record came out, I was 32, 33, something like that. So yeah, I remember this one little thing. Okay, so there was a Boys to Men song.
Oh,
I think it was Boys to Men, and they did this.
Oh yeah.
So they had a 4-part harmony. Do you remember that?
Yep.
It was like the little breakdown. I think it was called Motown Philly.
Okay. But
I made a song off my first record was that had that. So mine was. And it goes on and on because, for me, it was always like, I'll hear something and, we're all plagiarists because no one's coming up with anything unique at this point. There's so much recorded music throughout the history. I mean, you can listen to classical music, and obviously yours is very classically influenced. I've always pulled from things that had tension and release, and I mean, obviously that's what music is. It's a particular tension that makes you feel a certain way. And I want to even say that if I go back to some of the early music that inspired me, I remember when I was in my early teens, we had a cassette player, and it would pick up anything that you would record. And so that was my early days of trying to do sound on sound recording, was taking the cassette player had a condenser mic on it. You record one part, and then what you would do is take it and put it into another cassette player, play that in the background, and then record again. And that was your sound on sound recording. But I tell you, man, for me, it's so nice to have a home studio now. Yeah. And it really, you got to get into the mindset. I'm dying to go out and play again live. But what's your earliest experiences of, coming up with ideas and feeling like you wanted to capture them somehow? And then how did you start your, I had a Tascam 4-track machine in the 90s, but I didn't really record a shit ton of stuff with it. Not until I got a digital recorder. Well, I had some of those Roland VS studios that were all encompassed. It was a mixer, and it had digital recording, and you had memory cards that you would insert, and then later on the 1680 had on board, I think it was 2 gigabyte or something simple. It was super small.
Probably
storage,
even less than that even.
What's your experience on that?
I mean, for me, it was, doing the whole cassette thing too, but then I got the 4-track, and then what I did is I had this pretty good size closet, right? So I took all the clothes out of the closet. I left some in there as sound dampening, and I basically turned it into a mini recording studio for myself. To go in there, I'd shut I put a little lamp in there, ran the extension cord out of the closet into the wall, and I'd shut the closet door, and I'd sit in there. I had a little desk in there and a chair, and I'd sit in there and record. That was my recording studio. It's
cool.
Yeah, and the ability to record, the ability to hear yourself back, and really tweak it or just listen to it, right? I mean. Yeah. I still do it now. I have a full recording setup now at my studio in San Jose, and then here onto my Mac. But I'll still find myself just taking my iPhone, hitting the record button, and just playing.
Same thing, man.
It's easier.
Same thing. There's something about that.
Yes.
There's something. You're right. It's just the spontaneity, and sometimes when you're sitting there with a guitar in your hand and you're watching TV, something hits you, and you're going, "Oh, that would be a cool idea for a riff or a rhythm or something." A melody.
Yeah.
And same thing. It's nice to have that. It's nice to have that camera on your phone. You could see how you did it.
That's
too.
Right. Now, on the flip side of that, we've got, the recording ability now, and everybody can record, right? The problem is not everybody should be recording. the way I look at it. Not just because you can afford the microphone, just because you can afford the guitars, and you doesn't mean you should be releasing music, you know?
Yeah.
And the problem is that places like Bandcamp, places like DistroKid, all that stuff have allowed anybody to release music on iTunes and Amazon. And now people are inundated with so much that
there's a ton of information out there.
Yeah.
For sure.
You know, and they say, oh, the cream rises to the top. That's a load of shit. You know, the cream doesn't rise to the top when the top and everything in between is filled with garbage, you know? So it in a way it's good. It's advanced recording. It's advanced, you know, kind of the technology, but it hasn't advanced. So I was watching, I don't know if you've seen it on Hulu. It's the McCartney 3-2-1.
I'm into the second episode.
Okay, so I'm on episode 4 tonight. I'll be watching it. And I mean, you know, back then, I mean, you know, he's talking about, oh, we had an hour and a half to record. You know, I forgot what song it was. Michelle, I think it was, or something. And it's just like they did everything in such a way that it was, you know, kind of practical, right? And you know, and Paul McCartney talks about, well, you know, I wrote this song. We're on the tour bus and I didn't have anything to record it. So we had to remember it. And he goes, we weren't remembering it because we wanted to write memorable songs. We were remembering it because that was the only way to play it again.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
That's missing nowadays, right? Because they wrote songs that had hooks because they had to make them memorable. Now people are just playing just shit, you know? And I hate to sound like my dad or something like that. Oh, that's garbage, right? And a lot of the music today is not garbage, right? There's some amazing players out there. There's some amazing bands out there.
Well, let's get positive and let's talk about that. I have some. Let's just talk about some.
All right.
So in my library, I've got a lot of Joe Satriani because I've been getting into him. I've always loved like the band Orgy, and I've always loved like there's a band called Julian K with Amir Durak. Obviously Marty Friedman, but there is something I want to tell folks about. Okay, there's this band called Turbulence from Israel, and the record is called Frontal, and it is the coolest. Like, they're just, I mean, obviously they're very, very much influenced by Dream Theater. It is incredible. You know, obviously we can't play the music now, but I friended the guitar player, which I'm not remembering his name right now. Sorry, buddy. But I'm going to give Turbulence a big thumbs up because I love that record. I also love Pliny and Intervals. I love Aaron Marshall's stuff. I'm a huge fan of Polyphia. So that's kind of where my brain's going. And, you know, obviously I've got John Petrucci in my playlist. Terminal Velocity is really cool with Portnoy on drums. But I love Intervals and, you know, like all these bands I've mentioned. That's kind of where my heart's going. And I feel like if it hits you in a certain way, just like we were saying, like there's so much out there, but I think you'll get in where you fit in. You know what I mean? I think I'm still finding things through YouTube, and obviously the autoplay on my Apple Music will play similar music to the stuff that it's in my library. That's really helping me find new music because I don't think I would have found like Jeff Coleman just put out a record in May. I love Jeff Coleman. I've got all of his records. I would consider him a friend. I love him. I think he's a great player. I didn't know he had a new record out. You know, so some of that is like, you know, I really do believe that get in where you fit in. You'll find your spot in your bands and stuff. I know what you're saying. I think that's just a matter of, we're talking about all the media that's available out there. It kind of goes a little bit further in that what was news at 8 a.m. is not really news at noon, because they'll come up with a brand new set of things that you need to worry about, or what's trending and, you know, all morning. And that, you know, things get so buried by how much media is out there that it's almost like you got to find your own little niche of people. And honestly, I covet the people that, is that the right word?
Covet.
I really respect and really have a tremendous, responsibility to interact with people that interact with me. And so there are bands that I love and I try to interact with them. People that follow me on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. And, you know, obviously they reach out through the podcast. channels too. I try to be as interactive as I can with people because that's my group of people. I mean, that's who knows who I am. When I go back and play in Pennsylvania, I mean, obviously, with COVID, it kind of effed everything up, but my shows were growing and I had gone back, once a year for 10 years with the same band and, always try to put on a better show, better show, better show. And the shows were growing. And it's just like, there's something to be said for your niche of people. And of course, I would love to be Joe Satriani status, but I'm realizing that it is for the sake of art and for my little group of people. And I'm going to respect those people as much as I possibly can when I'm writing music so that they dig it too,
Yeah, I mean, you have to, right? To a certain extent. But for me, there hasn't been anything really that's knocked me off my feet in quite some time.
That sucks, man.
I mean,
sorry.
Well, no, it's perfectly.
I'm sorry.
No need to apologize. Not your fault. I mean, I just hear the same stuff from a lot of different artists.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't go on YouTube. I mean, you spit on YouTube and you hit 30 guitar players that are all playing the same thing.
Yeah.
And I try and avoid YouTube guitar players.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I do. I mean, for me, I like when I'm writing, when I'm writing music, when I'm recording, I don't listen to anything. I don't listen to anything. I don't want to be writing and be like, oh yeah, that's the riff by, I don't know, Megadeth, or something like that, right? Not that I'm trying to create in a bubble, because that's damn near impossible. You can't do that, especially nowadays. But I just, even when I'm driving in my car, I'm not really listening to a lot of music. I play a lot of music at home. I play a lot of music at rehearsal. I play a lot of music in my studio. I'm just, it's like the plumber that, when they get home after working all day, they don't want to work on their sink,
that analogy is funny to me because I was listening to somebody else's podcast and they said, a construction worker's house is like the shittiest because he doesn't want to work on it on the nights and weekends.
Right.
But the thing is I think honestly, it's hard for me to turn it off, dude.
Is it?
I always, for me, so I hear what you're saying and I understand where you're coming from. But what I will say is, and it's okay to have varying, various opinions. We're different is what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. I definitely have a different opinion. For me, it's the very first thing I do when I wake up is put my my earbuds in and start listening, trying to find new music, go into a podcast, check out what's new on YouTube from the people that I subscribe to, and try to, if I can, educate myself in a way that I'm mining, trying to find new stuff. And like I'm telling you, like when I heard Plenty, it's definitely reminiscent of Vibe, but it's different and it takes you on a journey. Same thing with Intervals, where I was like, man, there's something special about that. Where it's definitely derivative, but it's fantastic. It's great. There's an album, The Shape of Color, I want to say it's called, by Intervals, and I've listened to it, for 2 years now. And Marco Sfogli from Italy, who's played with James Labrie from Dream Theater, he's similar to me. He was on the first version of my show. And I could listen to his music over and over and over because I love just hearing the way he plays. And you can pick up little licks and little things that that I want to do. I want to be able to have his technique even after all these decades of playing guitar. So I do hear what you're saying, and I do hear what you're saying, and I feel like, I've had moments where I'm like, I want to write a record. I'm super inspired. I heard this other guy play this really cool thing, or he had a cool guitar tone, and now I want to go up, and I can't wait to get in my studio and lay down some things that I really want to do. But I definitely hear where you're coming from, and I know that for me, I look. I'm going to paraphrase again something that Joe Satriani said that I just recently heard him say in that Rick Beato interview I was telling you about, and it's. The guys that are getting older, the guys that are, sort of our age, or even the guys that are in their 60s, like Vi and Satriani and, McAlpine, they're sort of like how did he say it? I don't want to say they're curators of the past, but in a way it sort of is. It's sort of like they're not meant to be revolutionary in everything they're playing. They're just who they are now in their 60s or whatever it is. And they're just there to sort of, be the curator of what they're doing for your enjoyment. So if that's what you found, if that's what you like, and you turn on Steve Vai or Joe Satriani, you know what you're getting. You know that's what you're going to get. You know you're going to get Joe Satriani creating these beautiful, lush melodies that you will likely remember. And you go, hey, what was that? Yeah, I remember that. I remember his melody or his groove or something interesting he did with the guitar tone. And I feel like, to your comment from the last episode, it is true, Bill. There aren't revolutionary guitar players out there. It's not brand new. It's not a brand new thing, but I respect all of those different aspects of the young guys will come up. Like those guys in Polyphia, there are some really interesting things to listen to when you listen to those records. It's not all for me. It's definitely, I'm too old to really fully get all the different places they're going. I mean, it seems a little disconnected in some places, but I love it. I think it's great, and it seems interesting and new. And anyway,
I mean,
I think there's a place for all of it.
Well, and that's the thing to kind of support that is, even if we don't like it, even if there's something we don't like, if they're inspiring kids to pick up the guitar, they're inspiring people to play music. I don't need to like it.
Yeah.
To me, that's fantastic, and, all these bands that you just mentioned, they all have something unique into themselves, in and of themselves. Right. A lot of artists today, they don't want to take chances. They're afraid to take a chance because, I might get, somebody might bash me online or whatever. That's the only way art is evolved is by taking chances. If you don't take chances, then you just have the same monotonous cannon fodder that has been put out for years, So you have to take chances. You have to push the envelope, whatever that means. And if that means you're the only one that likes it, so be it. If you're being true to yourself as an artist, that is ultimately all that matters. Because at the end of the day, when you put your head on the pillow, you need to be happy with what you put out as an artist. And it doesn't matter what medium that art is, whether it's sculpting or painting or music or filmmaking or whatever. You need to do what you want to do.
Let's end with some guitar riffs, man. I think we're at about an hour here.
Well, I'm still on clean tone, so.
Oh.
Take us out with some guitar riffs, Greg.
Well, you're gonna take us out too, but you said clean tones, and I thought I'd confuse the listener by a super destroyer.
Right? Nice.
Thanks, man.
Very nice, actually. I like that little lick you did right there. That one, that little descending lick. Well,
yeah.
Play that again.
Play it again.
Play it again.
Oh, man.
This one. Yeah, that's a cool lick.
Was that the one?
That was a cool lick. Absolutely. Yep.
Thanks, bro. What do you got?
I just got clean shit, man. I'm in my clean.
Hey, we didn't really talk about half the stuff we said we're going to talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
But we got to play a little guitar, and I would think it would be cool to do that in the upcoming episodes as well.
Sure.
Just have a guitar, and it's like I think people want to hear you play too, and I'm really happy to hear that classical piece from your first record. Remind us is it called? Slather.
Slather.
So is that on iTunes?
Oh yeah. Absolutely. So the song is called 1234.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What's that have to do with?
So I usually, and this has been happening since I was a kid, I look at the clock twice a day and it's always 1234.
That's
You know,
crazy,
so
man.
yeah, so
Yeah.
it was like a kind of those synchronous time things, you know.
Yeah, that's nuts. Well, so my first record's called Collective Disorder, which I think that song that I played was called Father to Son, was the rhythm for it. So my second record's called Mara. It has a bunch of great guests on it. Philip Bino from Steve Vai's band. Ray Luzier plays some drums on a few tunes. Amazing drummer. I mean, obviously, Korn. You know, you can't, I mean, he's just one of the best. Andrew Freeman from Last in Line sings on it, and Jimmy DeAnda from the Bullet Boys plays drums on a few tracks. Uh, I'm sure I'm missing a ton, but man, it was just such a fun record to make. And then I have singles out. So what else do I have? Why am I feel like I'm missing something? Uh, did a song with Ray Luzier from Korn and Bruce Bouillet from Racer X called Lose an Ear. My new record's called Reflexive. I have other singles out as well. And everything, you know, folks, you could catch everything on gregmara.com. And that's for free. You can go on there, go to the very first page. My entire catalog is on gregmara.com. You can just download it right from the website. And then you can find me everywhere else: Spotify, iTunes, anywhere else you listen to music. What about you, Bill?
So my first album I did was 2004 called Slather, and I had Stu Ham on bass and Gigi Gone Away from Mariah Carey. He played with Mariah Carey for 15 years, did Steve Winwood, Celine Dion, but he was perfect for the album. Mike Mangini played on 2 songs, but I only used 1 on the album. And then the next album was called Relentless in 2007. And then 2010 was JFL. 2000, what, 18 was Defiant Machine, and then I just put out an album with Royal Rebels last year.
Is it out?
It is, but it's more like demos right now, is what it turned out to
Yeah.
be. Some of the songs are really good, very lush, type stuff. A lot of country stuff in there, thanks to this guitar. And then we're working on the new album now that we did with Simon Phillips.
That's awesome, dude.
So
Well, folks, check out billinero.com, Bill, and then that third L, Lonero, Lonero. That always throws me off when I type that. It seems like one too many L's.
Totally.
But it's billinero.com and gregmar.com. And this has been Greg and Bill's Guitar Uproar. Catch you guys in the next one.